So as we're talking, I look over, I see a picture. Now, mind you, before I finish the story, let's go back to the time when I was working at the group home. And the dude, we're going to call him Ben. Ben, the one that his family tried to set me up, but, he was the baby daddy of one of the coworkers, one of my coworkers' daughters. And when I found that out, there's a whole story about that. When I found that out, we stopped talking, but we still would see each other like rarely. And it was not like it was no bad blood between us, because we were still cool. Like nothing ever happened past us like having that one meetup. That was it. And mind you, this is years. At this time, my oldest daughter is probably like 10, 11 years old. So I hadn't seen him in a. So, so we didn't do nothing back in them days. Like, all we did was like meet up and we was talking. He was telling me about himself. I was telling him about myself. I think we ended up kissing and that was it. There was no there was nothing like that. So, I still followed his cousin and his sister that was trying to hook me up with him. And at that time, before she ended up deactivating her Facebook page, she ended up posting a picture of the new baby he had. So he ended up having a little boy. So I knew what the little boy looked like. But he never posted no picture of no girlfriend, or anything. But he also did start his own business, it had the letter of his name and somebody else. So I was trying to figure out who is the other letter. Because mind you, he never posted no pictures, never put on his Facebook page, because we ended up starting to follow each other. And around this time, my Instagram got back active. So he was on my friend on Instagram too. So he would, constantly show and post pictures of both of his kids. The way he would spend time with them when they would go on vacation, everything like that. But you would never see a girl in the background or a lady in the background. So I never thought nothing of it. Like, I knew because the way he used to move when we was at the group home talking to many of girls, I was like, he probably still moves like that or whatever. Because there was a lot of girls at that job that had a crush on him and didn't like me because they knew, I guess, he liked me or whatever. So they would constantly give me attitude. But like I said, I wasn't worried about him like that. So getting back to the story, when I see the picture, I noticed that it's Ben's son. And I'm like, wait, because his son is named after him. So I said, Ben Jr. is yours? She's looked at me like, how do you know my son? And I was like, I know, his auntie and his dad. We used to all work together. And she kind of looked at me. She was like, oh, for real? I'm like, yeah. I'm like bigging up his sister, saying like she really helped me out a lot of, especially when she told me about the first person I had children with, how she was allowing me to bring my kids to work and all that stuff. So I really was grateful for her around that time. So all of a sudden her mood kind of changed towards me. So there's one night, where we ended up talking, and I guess she's trying to find out information of how much I know about her. That's when I found out that was her husband. And I was like, and my ditzy ass was like, oh, like I never knew. Like, he doesn't post pictures of her, so how was I supposed to know? So I guess she was trying to fish to see how well did I know her husband. And that's why I said this world is so, in my world, is so very small. Because there's another story about somebody that I work with that's actually related to my oldest too. And I've been there for 7.5 years. Me and this girl worked for 7.5 years, and she's related to my oldest two aunties. I say my world is small. It's small. So getting back to that story. So yeah, when she's trying to fish out how much I know about her husband or whatever, and I'm talking about like how I know them, it's like she pulls out her phone and kind of positions her phone to take a picture of me. So I looked at her, I'm like, what are you doing? She was like, oh, nothing, I'm just answering a text or something like that. I'm like, so ever since that day, she caught an attitude with me. Like, she didn't want to talk to me. She didn't want to see me or anything like that. So I'm like, what did I do? I was like, he doesn't post pictures of you. Like, how was I supposed to know? I guess she got offended because I knew her son, but I didn't know her. So she felt like maybe like he was bringing his son around. Sweetheart, I know your son through Instagram, through Facebook. That's all I know him from. I didn't do nothing. So I knew either she had to say something that was going around the office, because like I said, everybody always keep thinking something like I'm trying to sleep with their man, and I'm like, I don't know where these people are getting it from. It's not my fault your husband doesn't post you proudly. I could see why, but I'm trying to be good, but I don't like when people bother me and I don't bother them. I be literally in my own world, minding my own business. Jesus, hey, he's still working on me. Yeah, if y'all haven't seen that, like, I've come very, very far, very far. But it was like something in that office. I don't know what was going on, but if it was jealousy, but I know for a fact she has something, and I'm gonna say Keisha too, because Keisha, yeah, I know. She told me a lot of stuff about what a lot of people was doing in that office. And then there was one other one that is so sad, because I know she was in that cahoots, and I thought she was a real friend. And then at the end, I just realized she was just like the rest of them. And what's so sad, she, like I said, is where I always run into people that I see that's in true love. And she was one of the married couples. Well, I never met her husband. I don't know if she thought I did. I don't know what was her problem. But I always was like, the way her and her husband was when she was explaining that, like, they had a really good relationship. They were high school sweethearts, to the point where he got himself into a very good job where she didn't have to work. Like, I think, even though, like, I would love for a husband that was like that, I still would, because she was the same way. She wanted to work, but after a while, when the job was starting to get really, really micromanaging, she was like, she don't have to deal with that. Like, when I seen that, I was like, damn, I want a marriage in that dynamic, where if my job is pissing me off, my husband is making enough for me to, like, quit that job to go look for another job. And the way her and her husband seemed to me like they were truly in love. But like I said, I had to cut her off too, because she's a married couple, and whatever rumor or whatever was told to her, instead of, like, because I was always authentic with her, and for her to side with everybody else and not truly, like, side with me really hurt, because I really looked up to her, because I wanted a marriage like hers. She was the inspiration for me to really start really digging into myself and loving myself, so that way I could find somebody who would love me for me.